There are any number of character creation exercises that might work well for us in a dramatic writing class. Today, though, is the first day of fall when the weather felt right for me to put on a flannel shirt and a cardigan sweater. And as soon as I did, I felt even more connected to my character as a professor. Sometimes our attire, our clothes, our accessories can do that, not only in the lives we live, but also in the stories we write. So, with that little bit of inspiration in mind, let's try a character creation exercise that I tend to think of as simply outside in. For this attempt at outside in character creation, you'll take 5 steps. First, you'll come up with an interesting setting. Second, you'll create a character who would be comfortable in that setting. Third, you'll describe that character's person. That is, provide a detailed description of their appearance and their attire. And while you're at it, give them an age and a name. Fourth, you'll brainstorm action and dialogue that would express that character's personality. For this step, consider not only how the character would act and speak, but also how others would act and speak about them. Fifth, you'll decide what dramatic need has brought this character to this setting. When I teach screenwriting, we read the first few pages of Lawrence Kasdan's script for and watch the first few minutes of the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then we talk through these 5 steps with the character of Indiana Jones as our example. The interesting setting is a jungle in South America in the 1930s. The character who is comfortable in that environment is an adventurous archaeologist. When we talk about that character's person, we tend to concentrate on the iconic aspects of his attire, such as the fedora he wears on his head or the bullwhip he wears on his hip. When we discuss the actions and lines of dialogue that reveal his personality, we tend to focus on the ones that express his confidence, at times his overconfidence, that he can succeed where a competing archaeologist had failed. When we debate the nature of the dramatic need that brought this character to this setting, why is he motivated to risk his life, as well as the lives of his helpers, to retrieve an ancient artifact? When I teach playwriting, instead we read the scene in which William Shakespeare introduces the character of Prospero in the play that is often thought of as the playwright's farewell to the theater, The Tempest. This time, the interesting setting is his cell on a remote island, a description that calls to mind both the living space of a monk and of a prisoner. The character here is a deposed duke who has learned to become a sorcerer from reading his beloved books. When we talk about his person, we tend to focus on this scene and on his mysterious magic garment, which he wears when he performs his sorcery. Although they are not part of his attire, we also talk about his books, which are in his cell. Then we discuss the actions and lines of dialogue that reveal his personality. We tend to concentrate, at least initially, on the ones that reveal his desire for revenge against those who usurped his title and banished him to the island. And it's that desire for revenge that we tend to talk about first in terms of his dramatic need. But then our discussion might shift to aspects of Prospero's personality that might have led to his banishment, and if he might not need to change those. But these are only 2 examples of dramatic writing we could consider before we attempt an outside-in approach to character creation. Feel free to select your own example to analyze, or just to start working through the 5 steps, which, in simplest terms, we could call setting, character, person, personality, and dramatic need. I'll look forward to reading what you come up with on the Canvas site for our class.